say, okay, time for another crash. And we haven't had one yet. But, you know, um, I've seen some people talking about the AI bubble right now,
Hmm.
who are saying that, everybody's spending millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions to build AIs all over the place out there. And there isn't a single major killer app yet for it. There's no world-changing use that anybody's been able to find out yet or figure out yet. And that's going to lead the hype cycle is going to kick in where, okay, everybody thinks it's going to change the world immediately. Then they're going to find out that it's not going to be immediate and these stocks tank.
The Financial Survival Network. Now more than ever.
Now, and welcome. You are listening to and watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. John Rubino is with us now. Make sure you visit his Substack, rubino.substack.com. Subscribe to it. So, John, chaos reigns. I mean, the emperor has no cortex, right?
Mm.
Everyone just figured this out like last week. I mean, where were these people, right?
Hey, Kerry. Well, yeah, everybody knew this. That's what's so weird. I posted a thing on Substack a year ago, and the title was Ancient Evil,
Mhm.
but about all the old warmongers that were still in charge of the country and how, senile people were taking us to World War III. And um, that was obvious to anybody who wanted to look, but it was the wrong message for the team, for the mainstream media team, because they were playing on the Democrat National Committee side, and anything that
Mhm.
helped the Democrats got nonstop airplay, and anything that didn't help the Democrats or hurt the Democrats got throttled. And so now they have to pretend to be enraged that the White House kept the reality of Biden's mental state away from them all this time, and
They
it's
had no
hilarious
idea.
to watch. And
They,
what's
they
funny,
didn't know.
you notice how Trump has just disappeared
Brilliant.
because when your enemy is committing suicide, do not interrupt them.
Yeah, well,
And
James Carville said, when your enemy is drowning, throw him an anvil. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's a slightly different message though, because that would mean Trump should be out there just hammering away. But he's just being quiet now. He's letting these guys self-destruct, which is I think is, arguably there are other things he could be doing, but I think this is pretty smart. Just sit
Hey,
back, relax.
like I read people's body language. I didn't watch the debate live because it's just too painful to watch
Oh
one of those
yeah.
things. And if I want to waste 90 minutes of my time, I have a better way. But the highlight reel just said it all. And like you see Trump looking and, you know, like there's actually some empathy there because Trump is only 3 years, 4 years younger than Biden. And he's thinking there, but for the grace of God, and he doesn't understand what the guy is talking about. And he kind of has like a questioning look, but he kept his mouth shut, which for Trump, is a major accomplishment. He had to have lessons on how to keep your mouth shut.
Well, the format actually helped Trump. They set it up to help Biden and disadvantage Trump, but because it led to him keeping his mouth shut for big stretches of it, I think was good. Because the risk in that debate was that Trump was just going to pound on Joe Biden and make fun of his senility and stuff like that, and turn him into a martyr and actually
Yeah.
gain votes for Joe Biden out of sympathy, and the format prevented Trump from doing that, and so it worked out to his advantage. I bet for the next debate, if there is one, he proposes the same format.
Yeah. Hey, bring it on. I think that was the
Yeah, let's
best
just
format you guys ever
let's
did.
just do that again. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey.
So yeah, okay. So the U.S. still has chaos ahead of it, obviously, because
Yeah.
the donor class wants Biden out of there. The media is mad at Biden because they have to pretend to be mad at least because they have to pretend that they were fooled, and so they got to come out on the other side of this now. So it's highly likely that Biden leaves in favor of Kamala or the California guy or something like that.
Oh, Gavin Newsom,
Yeah, Gavin Newsom. Yeah.
as Trump calls him, Gavin Newsom.
Well, the reason they haven't done something like this yet is they can't figure out exactly what to do, because whatever they choose has horrendous potential unintended consequences. Because, yeah, Newsom is obviously the strongest politician in the bunch. He would be best in debates. He would look good on posters and things like that. But he carries California with him. All you have to do to run against Gavin Newsom is say, did you really make shoplifting illegal? Did you really make camping on the streets illegal? Are these pictures that I'm showing right now the actual truth of look what's happening there in San Francisco downtown? Yeah. So that's
He was
pretty
mayor.
Easy.
Don't forget. Newsom.
Yeah, he was the mayor of San Francisco.
He was mayor of San Francisco. He helped make it what it is today.
Yeah. So he articulate and good looking though he is, would be really easy to run against. And then Kamala Harris is just a nightmare as a politician, so they really don't want her. But if they replace her with somebody like Gavin Newsom, then they've replaced a black woman with a white man. And what does that say, So Trump will be able to go, wow, the Republicans have never been racist like you guys. What did you do to that black woman? Why did you kick her out? Why did you put a white man in front of, he can say that in debates then. So
who do you think? Who do you think is Trump's VP? Like
who do I want?
Who's it going to be? Who do you think it's going to be?
I want to tell you who I want first, because Vivek Ramaswamy would be the best VP candidate. He would just go out there like a bulldog for 18 hours a day on every conceivable media outlet, telling the Trump story and backing up Trump. He would be brilliant, but I don't think he gets it. He's way too young, way too untested. JD Vance would be the other one who probably
looks
gets
like
it.
Because that helps him in the Rust Belt, I guess, to some extent.
But the thing is, Trump's already going to carry Ohio, so an Ohio politician is not that helpful. But he's articulate, and if you're going to assume that you're going to win, so you don't need to you don't need to have a VP who carries a swing state for you. Then he would be almost like Vivek, really articulate guy who would go out there and just fight
He's
the
only
fight.
39 too.
Young, energetic, and but who do you think?
Yeah, I just don't know. I really like that guy, Byron Donalds, and he's black.
Yeah, articulate black guy. That's good.
I think, hey, putting all the things aside, I think like him or Ben Carson I like, but he's not enough of a fighter. He's too low key, smarter than any of the other people, including Trump, for sure. And a really bright guy and a great story. But I don't know, I just don't know because, I saw a headline today that was going to be Tulsi Gabbard,
I would love Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, I didn't think she was one of the possibilities, but if she is, she's technically a woman of color.
Yeah.
Although I always thought of her as just white, but she can play the race card. She can play the gender card, and she's articulate, right on most issues. She's compatible with the Republican base on most issues.
Yeah.
So she would be great. God, I would pick her as Secretary of Defense, if not VP.
He's got us all stumped here. Nobody knows.
The nice thing is the Republicans have some exciting choices, and he only needs to just choose one of them. And he can start naming his cabinet too. What would you think the impact would be if he said, I'm going to put RFK Jr. in charge of healthcare? 2 years, I don't even want to hear from him. Just let him go out there and remake American healthcare.
He's going to be at Freedom Fest. Me and RFK Jr. have some history together, and he doesn't really know me. We knew each other to nod hello from the gym, him and his sister. But he's just, I didn't want to get into it. God awful person, like
the
worst.
He's a Kennedy.
Yeah, well, that kind of says it all. And the history. Some of it's coming out now, but I have one piece of dirt on him that would sink him and 30 seconds, but I don't want to get involved in the whole thing.
But yeah, as a presidential candidate,
As
although I think he's a
anything.
strong candidate, but as the head of HHS or something like that, Health and Human Services.
Yeah, well, he'd be in charge of the CDC. Put him in charge of CDC and
Wouldn't that be great,
World
though?
Health.
I mean, that would just be so great because he would go in there and he understands how that works, how the scam works in American healthcare, and
Big
give him
pharma.
2 years and unlimited power, and just let him go in there and just clean house and get rid of all the conflicts of interest. Anyhow, you're right, though, it would be risky.
So who runs the intelligence apparatus? Because that's got to be purged.
Ed
And
Snowden.
the FBI and justice.
Edward
Everything needs to
Snowden.
be purged.
Edward Snowden. Put Snowden in charge of the NSA and intelligence. And, Trump could do stuff like this, and he could just throw hand grenade after hand grenade
Yeah.
into the, of course, that would get him. The minute he started talking like what I was just saying,
Could happen. You
he'd
never
have an
know.
accident. Yeah.
You never know. I mean, what did Charles Schumer said when you take on the intelligence apparatus? They got 8 ways till Sunday to get you.
That's right. Which was the most astounding thing a senator has ever said.
So speaking of that, Julian Assange cut a deal, and he's off the hook now. I mean, it sure took long enough, huh?
He could be in charge of the government's media arm.
Yeah.
There are just so many great people that Trump could name to his cabinet. But yeah, it's that's one of the real scars on American character, how Julian Assange was treated, because he was he was a journalist being a journalist. The New York Times, the Washington Post have all done exactly the same thing, where somebody sends them a leak. Yes, those were illegally obtained. Elliot, what was the name of the guy? Daniel Ellsberg.
Psychiatrist's office was broken into.
He could have gone to prison for treason for that, but they knew they couldn't really do that and make it be politically palatable. But Julian Assange, same story. And they basically imprisoned him for a decade. So yeah, I hope he's okay physically, because his health was really failing.
I know.
Towards the end, but
he was a prisoner at the embassy for years. For like 10 years.
And then an actual prison, Belmarsh in the UK. So if he can come back physically and return to WikiLeaks or something like that, then he's got 20 or 30 more years of fighting a very good fight that needs to be fought. So hopefully that's how it works out for him.
And a lot of dirt too. A lot more dirt now than there was when he went to jail, that's for sure.
Oh, can you imagine what would pour into WikiLeaks now if he was back there? It would just be that would be awesome.
Yeah. Hey, I'd love to see it. But I have a feeling he's going to retire. I think he's been through the mill, but you never know. People can surprise. Hey, speaking of surprises, so we got earnings season coming up for stocks and the miners in particular, and gold is going for like $300 an ounce more, 350 than last time. So what's that going to do to the majors, who are producing millions of ounces of gold a year, and producers out there?
Well, yeah, that's the big question, because gold is up about $300, or it was up in the second quarter, $300 over Q2 2023, which means the miners get this nice top line pop. What they're selling got like 17% more valuable in the past year. And normally, for a well-run company, most of that 17% would just flow straight down to earnings and cash flow, because they didn't have to do anything else to get it. They're mining just as they mined in the year ago quarter. But costs are going up for miners. And we'll have to see how the big miners, how the producers in general were able to control their costs in the second quarter. And if they were able, energy didn't go up that much year over year in Q2. So it's possible that that the costs that miners had to deal with went up, let's say 5%. And that would mean 12% straight to the bottom line, 12% wider margins straight at the bottom line. And that's Or well,
Yeah.
wait, even better, 12% of revenue flows to the bottom line, which might be 100% wider margins.
Yeah.
So
Well,
there could be some pleasant surprises in minor earnings right now because nobody's paying attention. Everybody's looking at
yeah.
NVIDIA.
Yeah. NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Like Newmont, their average weighted sales last quarter were 2,050 per ounce. So they get $300 more per ounce. I don't think their costs went up 15 or 17% more. So it could be a big pop on the upside for Newmont. And
Yeah.
I assume all majors similarly situated. I think
Yeah.
Agnico, similar cost structure and similar, they probably get cost structure is a bit lower than Newmont's. They're not producing as many ounces, but their price realized is pretty much equal to Newmont's, if I remember the last time I looked. So it could be some major breakouts. Speaking of breakouts, Tesla last quarter was in the dumps, and they were basically saying the EV revolution is dead, and now not so much, right?
I saw Tesla go up, but I didn't see why. Is it because something to do with their
Volume,
self-driving technology?
the volume they sold,
Oh,
they delivered 444,000 vehicles last quarter, and they only produced 410,000 or something, 411. So the balance came out of their inventory. And I can tell you, I was on the west coast of Florida near this Tesla uh, service area, and this was like 2 months ago, and there was like, I'd never seen it before, an entire like lot full of Teslas, like hundreds of them. And I'm thinking, wow, they're really in trouble. Then they did cut rate financing down to 0.99% on their biggest selling car, the Model Y, and the whole backlog was gone. And then the price of lithium went from like 54,000 per ton or 45 last year to 13,000 now. And that's the biggest component in any EV. So it's like the price of oil went down for them, by 2/3 or 3/4.
speaking of margin expansion, wow. Okay. I saw my first Cybertruck on the road the other day.
Pretty hideous. I've seen a bunch of them, and you got to be careful. Don't rub up against it because the angles are so sharp that you could get cut, or you could pull a seam on your clothes, if it gets caught. It's not like Tesla's products like that. Their first production run, generally not quite ready for prime time. So it's a controversial car. People don't like it, and but we'll see. We'll see. They're producing 1,000 a week now, 50,000 a year, and no one thought that they could do it. And they had a couple million orders in backlog. Even if a third of those orders stick and the rest fall out, they're still like, hundreds of thousands of units behind. So I found that one kind of interesting. Like, every dog has its day, right?
Yeah, I go back and forth about it. I agree. The styling is aggressive, but the tech is very cool. To have
Yeah.
a bulletproof pickup truck.
Hey, a sign of the times, man. We might need it this summer. You might wish
Hell
you had a
yes.
Cybertruck when
Oh,
everything hits the fan this summer, right?
you
All
know
we
what
need
else
is all we need is some cops to do something stupid or appear. Doesn't even matter if they did or not. They just have to catch them on video looking like they did something stupid, and presto, right?
another summer of love. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always a possibility. Yeah, but one other thing the Cybertruck has is it's got a cover for its bed
Right.
that seals, and it's got a high-end air filtration system that flows into the
Biodefense
bed.
mode.
Biodefense mode. So I showed that to my wife. She has chemical sensitivities, and like during smoke season out here when there's
Mhm.
forest fires and everything, it's really hard for
That's
her.
gotta
And
be
she saw
awful.
that and she said, "Okay, I want one of those." She loved the idea of a highly filtered, pure air environment that she could go to anytime she wants to.
Model S has got that too. The Y and the 3 don't, but the Model S and the Model X have biodefense mode. And I used to use it when I had my Model S. There's a big garbage dump like 2 miles from my house on the turnpike, and it could just permeate for miles on a nice hot Florida summer day, and it would just get rid of it. It was remarkable. So, not an ad. We're not being sponsored by Tesla. Although, if they want to sponsor us,
Yeah,
you can say nice things about Elon just like anyone else can, right?
definitely go get sponsored by Tesla. Jeez. Yeah.
Okay, so stock market keeps going up. Everything must be good, John.
Yeah, you know the number of indicators that point in the other direction are just proliferating out there. That there are all these things where you put it on a chart and you see it peaked in 1999 and then it plunged, and then it peaked in 2007 and then it plunged, and it peaked in 2020 and then it plunged, and it's peaked again. You know, there are so many indicators like that that say, okay, time for another crash. And we haven't had one yet. But, you know, I've seen some people talking about the AI bubble right now, who are saying that, you know, everybody's spending millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions to build AIs all over the place out there. And there isn't a single major killer app yet for it. There's no world-changing use that anybody's been able to find out yet or figure out yet. And that's going to lead the hype cycle is going to kick in where, okay, everybody thinks it's going to change the world immediately. Then they're going to find out that it's not going to be immediate, and these stocks tank. Now I think that's a reason to short the NASDAQ. The two things I just said, all the indicators are pointing towards a recession and an equities bear market. And the driver of the current bull market may be ahead of itself now in terms of real world impact. So I wouldn't be brave enough to short NVIDIA right now, even though I kind of tried at one time. It turned out to be impossible to do because you can't borrow the stock to short it. And the option premiums on their stock were just outrageous.
Oh, forget it.
But so, which is a good thing. It saved me from throwing some money at it that would have just disappeared in a heartbeat. But the NASDAQ seems like a 1999, 2007 style short right now. And I've said that a few times before, I know, but it feels like it. Feels like the time has come again. So I'm gradually adding NASDAQ long-dated puts. And the oldest ones are worth 0 now, but the newer ones are holding up pretty well. So we'll see.
And Nassim Taleb, that's basically his thing. You keep buying out of the money puts for fragile markets. And that's the thing. The average person, John, doesn't understand how fragile the economic system is at this particular point. I think they get the instability, the crime, all that stuff. They understand it, but they don't really understand how it translates and affects their lives other than the obvious things.
Yeah, well, they should see those 20 charts that are all pointing towards another nasty recession and equities bear market. But you're right. That's inside baseball stuff. All the average person knows, if they know any economic statistics, it's the unemployment rate and the inflation rate, right? And those are artificially elevated. So that means that no matter what's happening under the surface, they can keep most people thinking that things are basically okay. Although, there's a growing trend out there of people who don't think it's okay, and that's freaking out the MSM and the political class, because you've seen all those articles about why are Americans so ignorant that they don't know how good they've got it, from Paul Krugman and people like that. And it's because the cost of living went up by 30% in 3 years, and a growing number of people can't even put food on the table now.
It's distressing. Well, and basically the blinder's been taken off, that debate, because I guess a lot of people didn't know, they didn't pay any attention. I mean, I have a friend who's a doctor, and I mentioned that dear leader, probably has dementia or he's got something going on. Another friend of mine who's a doctor treated gerontology, was a specialty, said he's got Parkinson's. All right. Hey, I don't know if it's so or not, but he's got something going on there. The emperor has no cortex, and, it takes that little kid just saying, but he's naked. Where are his clothes? No, his clothes are beautiful. And then you had Joe Scarborough saying, F you, this is the best Joe Biden that there ever has been. And now he looked like a total moron. And then he's after him. And then they got to him, obviously. Oh, no, he's a good Joe Biden. Don't believe what your eyes are telling you, right? They're saying, don't believe what you're seeing with your own eyes, what you're hearing. You can't believe what you're seeing, right?
Well, that Joe Scarborough still has a job is all you need to know about what team CNN and MSNBC are playing for, really, because a normal reporter or an actual reporter wouldn't be able to get away with flip-flopping and pretending to actually know the truth in each of his flip-flops without being fired. That would be an end of not just your job, but your career in a non-corrupt media environment. But here it's just, these guys are professional liars, so they get away with anything.
Do you remember, journalism was very simple once upon a time? Who, what, when, where, why, how, right? The 5 W's and the 1 H. And it's if you went to journalism school and you wrote an article, they'd say, oh, you got that right, but you're missing the why. Oh, you forgot your where. But now journalism is nothing, because that's fact-based reporting, right? Everybody has their POV. Everyone has their slant, their bias. But there was an effort to put forth unvarnished facts. And somewhere along the line, they became these activists, and they had to state their view for the good of humanity. And, journalism has never been the same since.
Okay, Kerry, there's a book. Matt Taibbi wrote a book called Hate Incorporated that talks about this. But I'll give the business model version of this really quickly. In the 1980s and 90s, a radio guy named Rush Limbaugh figured out that you don't have to go for the whole market. You don't have to be a Walter Cronkite that everybody tunes into. You just pick a segment, activate them into a frenzy, and keep them coming back. He picked conservatives and made tens or hundreds of millions of dollars.
He was a billionaire when he died.
And then Fox saw that and said, oh, we can do that with cable news. We'll just have all our talking heads reach out and confirm the preconceptions of mostly scared old white people, basically. And they made fortunes doing that. And then MSNBC did the same thing with hyper-neurotic liberals. And then
together, doesn't it?
Yeah, and
you
and
repeat
then,
yourself, but yes.
Yeah. CNN tried to be the middle road. They tried to be a regular news network. Nobody watched them, so they decided to pivot to anti-Trump. They became the anti-Trump network. And so that's what these guys are now. They are news-themed education shows.
They're not news. They're common. So there used to be a distinct bifurcation: news department, commentary, opinion, even in the newspaper, right? The Times. But now, they can't talk about a baseball game without getting into climate change, So fact and commentary are one and the same. Rush Limbaugh, yes, he pinpointed that market. It was brilliant, but he never claimed to be a news reporter, right? He never said he was a reporter. No, if he said he was a commentator.
Well, if you'd asked him, he would say, "I'm the guy who knows the right answer to everything." Yeah,
his opinion.
That was his opinion. Shtick, it was his opinion. But you're right. Now it's blurred, but it's basically entertainment. What they're doing is drawing a certain audience and then triggering them, enraging them with a bunch of lies about the other side. Yeah, and so they keep coming back because everybody, whether you're watching Fox or MSNBC, you think the world is ending. shortly because of the evil people that are in charge. And so you
Or
have to
the
go
other
back and
side.
watch. Yeah,
The
yeah,
other side is destroying everything. No,
yes.
they're destroying everything. They're destroying it all.
Did you
But
see? And it's bled beyond cable news because the New Republic, which used to be a legitimate magazine, just did a story with Trump on the cover, made up like Hitler. And the premise is,
well,
yeah, the world is ending if this guy gets elected, and we're part of the
resistance
resistance. Yeah, and that's used to be a news magazine. Yeah, so yeah,
used to be the Atlantic, the New Yorker. They were literary, masterpieces. And now it's even humor. It's permeated everything. It's why you should never watch news. All right, never watch it because basically it's the same thing as news and processed food are exactly the same. You know, the
hmm
the goal is to get your brain for its normal function to stop, to end it, and just consume what you're being fed. And with the food, it's like I always go back. The first biohacked food was barbecued potato chips because it had sugar, salt, and vinegar. And they found out that that combination shut off the satiety switch in your brain. So I bet you can't eat just one I bet you can't eat just one jumbo bag of chips. And the news is the same thing. They play with your emotions. They shut off the rational, the critical thought switch in your brain. And then because they're working on fear, you can't have critical thought and fear at the same time. So you get them in a fear charged state, and then they will consume all of the processed product that the newsroom is ready to dish out. That's why you can't watch it because, reading works on a different part of the brain, the critical thought part of your brain. And even if it's point of view or whatever, just by virtue of reading, it's more critical than watching and consuming. It just is. Said it for years.
yeah, and okay, there's a scary part of this story from here and a really optimistic part. The scary part is that AI is getting better and better at composing things that trigger people. They're just analyzing the human mind and figuring out how to just keep you glued to that screen. The
Yeah.
optimistic side of that is that as people figure this out, and it's happening in pockets out there. And the thing with the debate helped a lot. I think COVID helped a lot. But people are looking for trustworthy sources of news, and the market is accommodating them. Substack has tons of people who are at least trying to get at the truth in a way that's verifiable. And YouTube has all kinds of videos, your show being, one
Yeah.
of the good sources that people can go to. And the audience of independent news is growing exponentially while the audience of the mainstream media is collapsing. So it's happening.
Jimmy Dore.
Yeah.
Jimmy
Oh, yeah.
Dore.
Jimmy
Liberal
Dore.
all the way,
Yeah.
but truth teller, and he
Yeah.
deconstructs, he shows these clips and deconstructs them and say, they're lying. They're lying through their teeth. They're total liars.
Yeah, it's interesting. Jimmy Dore is a good case in point, and Glenn Greenwald and Matt
Mhm.
Taibbi are all people who were liberals of one kind or another 10 years ago, who now appeal to libertarians like us, even though they haven't changed their opinion about anything. They're just telling the truth, so they're worth listening to.
Yeah.
And even if we disagree with them about like Medicare for all or something like that, there's still, we're still fans of those guys.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
really that's encouraging to me.
but John, like when you look at people overall, what does everybody want? They want safe streets so their kids can walk to school. They want good schools so their kids actually get an education and learn the three R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? Uh, they want college to be affordable. They want to be able to have a decent lifestyle and a comfortable retirement. We all want the same things, but that isn't what politics is about. Like you said, it's segmented, it's niched, and it's like, well, these guys, they want a $40 minimum wage, so let's market to that little niche, right? in this niche, they want to be able to blow up everything on the planet. So let's go to these guys. And rather than playing off our commonalities, because we all want the same thing, they play us off against each other. And that's what these guys are really the best. The guys you mentioned, Taibbi, Jimmy Dore, and the rest of them, they're really, Glenn Greenwald, at showing how we're artificially being divided.
Yeah, and the layer of power that sits above the mainstream media is basically pharmaceutical companies that want us sick, weapons makers who want us at war, and banks who want us in debt.
Yeah.
And so the media serves that purpose one way or another by
True.
activating us into doing things or accepting things that that put us, turn us into sick, stupid wage slaves or debt slaves. And it's working. Got to say it's working, but people are starting to figure it out at the same time.
Hey, it's like, and then so you got that unholy triumvirate, and big business. Don't forget social media, our digital overlords that make this whole life that we're living so wonderful. They're all in it together, and then they got to control the political apparatus to keep the game going. And like you said, like, we don't have health care. That's like total lie. We have sick care, right? It's all about getting you sick and keeping you sick, but not making you so sick that you die and stop consuming the products and stop going into debt, right? That's what it's all about.
You got to be just sick enough to not be able to really, protest in the street or really understand anything. But you need to be okay enough to be able to consume junk food and watch cable news and use pharmaceuticals. So and it's working.
And go to government schools to keep you stupid, so you don't know the difference and you think that this is the norm. And like, there are other places in the world where they're really not doing that. I don't want to hold out any other place as being better than the US, because every country is dysfunctional and is a mess, all right, and is corrupt. Okay. But there are some people that just don't. They're not obsessed, and they're just like, you're living your life, you're doing your thing, and raising your family, and you're just not thinking about it. So, but here we're obsessed with externalities. Well, hey, we haven't talked in a while, so I'm glad we had this long chat here. And make sure you go over to John's Substack, rubino.substack.com. Link is in the show notes on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. While you're there, sign up for your free newsletter. We will pick up, John's kind of taking it easy this summer, and honestly, I am too. On my way to Freedom Fest. If any of you are around, shoot me an email, kl@kerrylutz.com. I ran into like 15 people that were listeners and watchers of the show at the Rick Rule Symposium, John. It was like I hadn't run into that many people who watched the show in one place in a long time. So if you're in Vegas at Freedom Fest, shoot me an email. If I hear from enough of you, I'll arrange some kind of cocktail hour at one of the places. And I'm about to take off there today. It's July 9th. My plane, John, like, I just got to tell you this tale of customer service and woe at JetBlue, because it's kind of hysterical. I just have to find the text. They've been texting me all day, telling me, first they text me to tell me the plane's late. Then an hour later, they text me to tell me nope, plane's on time. Then they tell me the plane's an hour late. And then I just got a message from them that it's going to be 2 hours late, or an hour and 45 minutes late. But don't worry, we'll get you there. I mean, it's like, okay, I love the communication, but I don't know when to go to the airport now, whether you're going to pull it at the last minute. We were just kidding. Plane's leaving on time. Better get your ass to the airport now.
Well, you know what this means? It means Tesla needs to invent a flying car.
Oh, well, Elon Musk has panned it, but in China, they supposedly have some. But can you picture an 80-year-old Floridian, a senior citizen? They can't wreak enough havoc on the ground You got to put them up in the air so they can threaten our airways.
Oh no, you don't get to actually fly the thing.
Oh.
It has to be a self-driving flying car,
Amen.
which is basically a drone, a
Yeah.
remote controlled drone,
The
or
drones for
an
the
AI driven drone. Yeah.
Drones
And
for drones.
and we have that technology already. I mean,
Oh.
there are drones big enough to pick a person up and carry them around.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that is coming. I'm afraid enough of heights that I know for a fact that I'm never going to do that unless I'm kidnapped or something, unless
Hey,
it's like an ambulance taking me from one place to another. But other people might really like that.
the scariest, one of the scariest events of my life was taking a helicopter ride through the Grand Canyon in Vegas. One minute looks like, you could jump out of the helicopter and run alongside of it. And the next minute, it's a 10,000 foot drop.
Oh,
That
Jesus.
scared the hell out of me. Somehow got over it. So, all right, John. Hey, we'll talk to you in August, I guess. And be well. All of you be well out there. If you're at Freedom Fest, let me know. And John, take care.
Thanks, Kerry. Have fun in Vegas. Wish I could be there.